Hey, we're here to talk to Adam Biggs. He's the bass player and the vocalist in Metal Blade Records band Rivers of Nihil. They've got a killer new record called The Workout. First off, how's it going, Adam? It's great for you to join us.
It's going good, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you know what? I had a great opportunity this past week to check out your album.
Mhm.
And with all the great music coming out in 2021, it kind of gets hard to keep up with all the the records coming out and keeping track with all the bands that you like and whatever. I would say that this one kind of stands out for me. It's a bit of a musical journey. Um, we spoke prior to beginning the show about the intro song, "The Tower."
Mhm.
Um, Very mellow. You play this six-string bass predominantly. Um, that bass really punched through, and what I really liked about the song, um, but I thought it was very different. Usually the bass is very far back in the mix, and that song, for me, maybe it is just my stereo, and my headphones, but I felt like the bass was front and center in that intro song going into the following track. Um, this is a long time coming for you guys, with COVID and the work, and,
Mhm.
let's talk about the whole concept behind the name and, everything that went into making this awesome record.
Yeah, I mean, it's a, it was a crazy record to write. I think it was, it. I can't remember going through this much, kind of personal change and growth and turmoil and ups and downs, between any other record cycle. I guess I could say, like I experienced the most life between Where Owls Know My Name, our previous record, and this one. So a lot of that energy, a lot of good and bad times in life, and things that we all experience collectively as being a rough part of our lives. With lockdowns and you know sort of mass hysteria and all of this. Uh, uh, all of that is present in what we made in some shape or form. You know, uh, and it's and for me, it's a lot of like a time where life is really hard, but like I know it's very hard for everyone. So I can't really complain, but so much. Um, and so it forced me to take a look at like positive aspects of my life and our life experience and stuff. And so I think that's what results in a lot of the more warm, upbeat kind of feeling things on the record.
It was quite an experience. Well, it still is. Every time I listen to it, it's an emotional roller coaster, right? It's so cool because like, it gets super intense, and then it just drops off, and then it kind of almost kinda takes you along this journey and then just punches you right through or just, I can't really put it into words, like, I really did enjoy, listening to this 3 times over, 3 times straight,
Yeah.
um, and then, as you know, Spotify has its ways of throwing in another track for you, and, that, uh, was from the record "When Owls Know My Name," which was pretty cool because that was almost like a different side of Rivers of Nile, and it shows how far you guys have come. Um, and it's how important is it to keep improving on the band's craft each and every record?
I think I mean, it's super important. It's been important for me, especially to find ways to communicate better, I guess, on each subsequent record. I think for our first full length record, I I poured a lot of time and effort into the lyrics and like trying to get the messaging right and all sorts of and like lots of like just had this very grandiose feeling to like composing the thing uh, it was a very that was also a tough record to make. Oh, they're all hard to make, really. But but then we get it back, and I'm like, wow, this is 45 minutes of blast beats and death metal. Like, it's cool, but it's not saying the things the way I wanted it to be said, I guess. And so each time I feel like we've tried to, expand the sound a little bit in an attempt to communicate better. Because we like that in music when, you can hear not just a bunch of cool riffs and stuff that you can headbang to, but I like to get a perspective, from the artist.
I fully agree with you. It's it's an evolution, and when you guys finally put something out that it takes a while to kind of find yourself as an artist, and then it ends up happening that you guys release a couple good records, and then the most recent one I feel represents you guys the best. It shows the full circle of the band, like the full dynamic of the band. Um, yeah, you guys can sing, you guys can get super intense, you guys can have emotional transitions, and of course, the bass is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to just kind of like, for maybe good or ill, just kind of put like the entirety of our musical energy into this particular thing, to the point where it's overflowing and just feels overwhelming. Like, those are things that we didn't want to run away from, because that's all part of the human experience. And especially in times recently that we've lived in, like, there's been, you know a few of us have not been no stranger to panic attacks,
Mhm.
and things of that nature. And um how do you, sonically represent that kind of thing? And a lot of it feels like harsh, drastic changes. You're in a new scene all of the sudden, and that's just kind of how life is sometimes. And you know for, as crazy as that can be, that's just what we wanted the record to feel like.
How do you guys compose tracks? Like, is it you start writing and then, or so, are you guys all just throw around scratch tracks and then get in a room? Because I know you moved to Virginia, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I've been here for about 2 years now.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But usually our writing has been kind of detached, like, not you can only be but so detached in the digital world, I guess. But we it's been a long time since we've like really sat down in a room together and like really like smashed our riffs together until we made a song. We used to do that a long time ago, and it's never super fruitful.
Mhm.
um so it's better to have, you know person A has idea, person B helps massage the idea until it becomes the thing, and then we tighten the screws until it's real.
So then at that point, you guys would get in a room and jam it out after it's kind of hashed out.
Well, like, way, way, way after, us playing in a room together is probably, it takes a long time to get to that point.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just so we go back here for a second, the reason I said that, you're from Virginia, for those listening and watching, uh, Rivers of Nihile is from Pennsylvania. And so there are members dispersed around the states, and it can be quite difficult to get in the same room. It's kind of expensive to go jam too, right? So you got to make sure it's actually going to be worth it.
Right. And everybody, eh, we it's not like the kind of band that we, get together once a week and just jam or whatever. Everybody's kind of got to be responsible for their own things, and come to class prepared. And then when it's time to actually get together and do something, then we're, ready to sit down, massage it out, get it ready, and then we go and do the thing that we need to do.
It's a bit more focused that way, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, it's we've got to make it count every time. But we it's been a long time since we've had a drummer that has lived anywhere near us, so it's like we've had to adapt to this kind of thing for a long time anyway. Usually, a lot of the music gets written primarily by Brody, our guitar player. Like, he just has his own studio set up in his house, and he just kind of tinkers with soundscapes for a long time. And then, if he has something that he thinks goes, it could be used for the band, he usually contacts me. We listen to it and we discuss it, and then we kind of mold it into the thing that we want it to be. I'm usually pretty good about, like, if he hands me something and I'm like, oh, this does not sound like Rivers of Nihil, or this doesn't sound like it's pushing any particular boundary for us. I'll let him know. No, and it's just over then. Usually,
It's gotta be an open board, right?
yeah.
There's no I in team.
Mhm.
Some bands there is, but, usually that guy makes the most money, right? So
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a different thing at that point, and we haven't really crossed that line necessarily. Everybody has their say. Everybody gets. Ultimately, it's the person on stage playing that part. So we get to say what it is we want to do.
oh, absolutely. There's one thing that really stands out to me, when I look at your records, your album covers, like, I know Allegiant has some great album covers, you do as well, the band, then the work, like, had the concept behind first off, who designed that front album cover? Fantastic artwork.
That all of our albums are painted by Dan Seagrave. He's a legendary at this point death metal album cover artist. He's worked with Morbid Angel and Suffocation and uh, uh, Gorguts and uh, Decrepit Birth, and like just tons and tons of really solid work that the man has done in the world of death metal landscaping. But it's so we've always wanted to work with him since the beginning. We were like, we want Seagrave art. And when we were you know young lads doing death metal music, we were just like, we didn't think too far beyond that. But then as the concept of the band started to come together, and we decided we were less about violence and skulls and things, blood and things of that nature. Like, it's like, what do we take the ultimate death metal artist, and we have to make him kind of contemplate nature and the like lofty concepts about seasons and things like that. And so I think that's where you know we took that kind of thing, and I feel like that's a little more interesting. There's not a there's not the traditional ideas behind the death metal stuff going on in what's being painted for us, which is what I like.
Yeah, exactly. I know I was talking to, someone today, I was like, "Hey, I'm interviewing one of the members of Rivers of Nihil," and he's like, what kind of band are they?" I'm like, "Well, they're death metal, but they've got like a bit of a prog feel, and there's different elements and stuff like that." And he's like, "You mean their logo isn't just like a pile of sticks, and they just you know what I mean, the whole little stereotype."
Yeah.
Um, no, you guys are way more rounded than a lot of bands out there, and it's good to kind of put yourself out there and show people your emotion through your music. I'm gonna scratch a funny bone for you, man.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about your rig. What kind of bass you playing? What kind of effects pedals do you have? And what kind of amp do you play it through?
Right now, I've just been using basically the tones you hear on the record are pretty much a DI bass tone with a Microtubes B7K dark glass preamp,
Love
and
that too.
pretty much nothing else. And then live, that's pretty much all that's going on with me too. And then it gets split into my Mesa D800 head just for some cab sound on stage. I keep it very simple. I don't do too much effects switching, or crazy stuff. Anytime I need to like really mellow out the tone, or something like that, or draw it back from some really hot sounding, distorted tone, I'll usually just roll back on volume just slightly, maybe just play with the play with the pickups a little bit, and then just kind of play softer, I guess, and just make the tone speak through my hands rather than having to stomp on a pedal or two or let some effect switch me. But and not to say that I wouldn't do that. I just haven't really gotten around to it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big gear guy. Like I'm not like I like to play instruments. I don't like to think about them so much.
I feel the Dark Last B7K, because I
Yeah,
have it as well. It just gives you almost everything you need,
yeah,
with the bit of an effect on top of it, and, like, it has a bit of distortion, and it still has that bottom end, and they've got
hmm,
great products, by the way, the 900, microtubes amp, and I think they have a 500 as well.
yeah.
Just fully rounded, awesome company. If you ever have a chance to try one out, definitely try it.
I've tried a bunch of their stuff out, just over the years from people that I've toured with and stuff, and I've always been really impressed with it. It's really nice looking too.
Mhm.
Not to do a commercial or for them or whatever, but it's very good looking gear.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not heavy, which
Yeah,
is fantastic.
always good. Yeah.
Well, what does a show day look for you? Like, how do you prepare? Any rituals at all?
Rituals. Yeah. I mean, show days for me. Depends on how far we are into the tour, but I'm picturing about 3 weeks in on this last tour that we just got off of, where we were touring in our van, and I wake up at question mark o'clock, and I definitely feel my age as I roll off of my bench seat that I was sleeping in, and then I start to do some spreadsheet work from the night before and try to figure out what exactly happened between merch and everything that we did. So I do a lot of bookkeeping until we get to the show, and then I get out of the van, feel my age a little more as we start to roll in gear or figure out where we need to park, etc. And and then we just kind of let the show happen at that point, because when you're 3 weeks in, everybody's just sort of on autopilot. Everybody puts all their things where they need to put them, and everybody goes where they need to go until all the people come in, and then by that point I feel like maybe I'm in a good enough headspace just from the show happening itself that I can maybe get up there and contend on some level.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? It's quite a life. You're on the road, you play a few shows, and you miss being home, and
Yeah.
then you're off, and then you miss being on the road. Um,
Yeah.
so it's difficult, right? I mean, being a musician, a full-time musician is very, very hard, especially during the last, what is it, 2 years almost now?
Mhm.
It's I can see that the work was made during this time pretty much, and um, it's something to be proud of. I'll tell you that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and yeah, it's definitely um, it's not a always super happy or super fun record. There's a lot of harsh stuff going on, but I think sometimes I like that in music when it's just maybe not aiming just to please, but maybe just to communicate. And,
Absolutely. Well, the show is called Meet Me for Coffee. Um, it's based on conversations over coffee.
mhm.
Um, what do you take in your coffee?
I drink it black.
All right.
Black
Same here,
100% of the
man.
time. Yeah.
Same here. Um,
It's a little late for coffee for me right now, but
oh, really? It's never too late. You can check out Jameson Cold Brew. That stuff's pretty good.
yeah,
You keep that around you, man. It's good stuff. Uh, Thank you so much, man. It's been
yeah,
awesome speaking with Rivers of Niles. Adam Biggs, he's the bassist and vocalist. They got a new record out called The Work. Thank you so much for checking us out and hanging out with us. Adam, any final words?
Um, no, I think I'll leave you go. Just check out the record, check out the work, give it a shot, and come see us live if we're in your city.
Well, I hope you guys come to Toronto, Ontario sometime, Canada.
Hopefully
Um,
soon. Yeah.
and I wish you guys all the best. The work is such a great album. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. If you're new to the death metal scene, well, you know what? This is a great record for you to try and get into. It's definitely something that you will love. And I know that as many people that I have recommended this band to have loved it, and they've definitely been pumping up your streams on Spotify. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everyone. Subscribe wherever you are, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube.